And I think you're going to really enjoy hearing from our next guest as well. Uh, this man and this organization he represents are both impressive. Say hello to Chad Oliverson, who is here representing the Arts Alliance of Tulsa. Chad, it's good to have you, my friend.
It's always good to be here, Sam. I always have a good time talking with you.
Excellent, excellent. Let's talk about the Alliance. What is it? Define it for folks who might not know.
I'm really glad you asked because sometimes there is some confusion. We're an umbrella organization that is a United Arts Fund. There's about 40 to 45 of them in the United States. And they work very much like the United Way, which is basically united fundraising. So as the umbrella, then, we are currently working for roughly 43 local nonprofit arts organizations. We work year-round to raise funds for them, unrestricted grants, which are very rare. Most grants go to specific projects, but we've got to keep the lights on, right? We've got to buy computers, we've got to hire staff in order to get the best quality for these organizations. That's the main purpose we serve, along with assisting in marketing and bringing awareness about these organizations. And we've done that in a number of ways this year specifically, because raising money has been a challenge. We've done it, but it's been a challenge. So that's what we do. That's why we're here. We don't do programming. We don't compete with, any other umbrella organization. We are unique to Tulsa.
Before I ask you the next question, let me just preface that question with this. Bear with me, and I'll try to keep this as simple as possible because I am a music lover. Cannot help it, have always been that way. But with the COVID-19 situation, and this is a very deadly disease, a lot of folks don't realize that, the arts are being impacted in such a way that it just boggles the mind. And I have said on this program before that I have friends who are musicians scattered throughout town and across the country who are gifted men and women, and there are young ones out there that want to follow in their footsteps. The problem is it's terribly difficult to play an E-flat mellophonium or a contrabass clarinet or a flute or a trombone or anything else when you got to wear a mask to do it. So there are some of the battles that are being fought. As a result, we have a lot of musicians who currently are out of work. We have a lot of singers that are out of work. We have a lot of dancers that are out of work. And so a lot of folks are being impacted. There is light at the end of the tunnel, as you well know, Chad, with the 2 vaccines now that are headed our way. But we still need your group's services. Could you elaborate a little bit for us on how you distribute the support to, I think you said, 43 different groups?
Yes, another great question. Thank you. You do know your music, obviously. So how we work is we take applications annually. This is how we traditionally work, and we review them with our board. Our board actually does a decision. We have a committee within there, and we find the most diverse makeup of organizations in Tulsa representing every possible discipline in the arts, from visual to performing, music, you name it. You get the idea of that. And diversity in ethnic background and makeup, all of those things that represent Tulsa wonderfully on a world scale. So what we do then is we take the entire year to work with corporations. We work with some foundations. We are really trying to reach out to the individuals in our community. Because traditionally that is a very weak spot in giving, as well as corporate giving, because they don't necessarily see the arts as one of those building blocks for a better education, a better quality of life. It's not that they don't appreciate it. It's just they don't see the need for their support. So we we knock on every door, ring every doorbell to try and raise that money and new funds from new people, not just the same people who always give, even though they do give to us and we're very grateful. We need those new faces. So what we do after we've raised the money is we work on a very fair formula that is used nationally, that is based strictly on numbers. There's no possible way for there to be any emotion brought into it or preferences. It's done by another committee, allocations committee, and a check is cut normally at the end of the year and distributed to these 43 organizations. Now that has changed a little in 2020 due to COVID and going into 2021, which we call our Relief and Recovery Fund. And so what we're doing now, instead of giving one check, is we have been giving checks throughout 2020. We're not going to just give at the end of 2020. We're going to continue giving on an as-need basis, where those emergency spots are that we talked about, that you just talked about, those musicians, those organizations that aren't getting work, that aren't able to pay their musicians or their actors or their dancers, their artists. So we have to use these 2 years to keep rolling money out in smaller amounts to plug holes in the dam, to keep them afloat until we can get back to a thriving type grant, a grant that makes them reach the next level. Right now, we need to keep them afloat, and we do understand that there is a great need as people have lost jobs, and there are people that are ill and people have lost loved ones, and arts is not the first thing to mind, and especially in donations. But you have to remember what everything is tied to when it comes to arts. We are talking jobs.
Got to put
right?
it in perspective. And I'll tell you something too, Chad. It's kind of funny. You used a phrase that goes back to World War II, and that was relief and recovery. Because I recall reading about, and I remember my family talking about relief and recovery efforts here at home when the men were trying to come back from fighting the wars overseas, and there were economic problems out the wazoo as the country tried to make the change from making tanks and bombs and airplanes over to refrigerators and cars and things that could be used every day. So it's kind of interesting how phrases from, the past come back to, it's like everything old is new again,
Yeah.
There is a direct correlation between music and mathematics, is there not?
Absolutely. There's so many studies actually, and we'll just deal with that specifically, but we can deal with it also on a larger scale. Studies have been done for decades on what 4 years of education in any artistic field for a student brings them in other fields or other career opportunities. So let's take music. So 4 years of learning an instrument is going to, any instrument, right, and vocals, is going to actually, while they're learning that, they are sharpening their skills in math and science. We know that the SATs can even go up by 100% just by learning music, right? I mean, they're sharpening these skills. They're not even knowing they're doing it. But there is a direct correlation between arts and education and the careers that they have in the future. And we've got to start thinking that way, and not just arts as nice, but as a necessity.
I know a woman that lives here who, very quietly, who is an Oscar-nominated makeup artist.
Wow.
And she can't find work. She works for a lawn service. There are others in other fields of the arts who are doing what they have to do to get by. And I long for the day when we can see the arts again take center stage. I really wish we could get some of the more successful, if you will, frontline popular artists to step up in some way, help with a benefit. A Garth Brooks, for instance, or maybe his wife Trisha Yearwood would help. I don't know, maybe, and I'm talking out of school here, and I don't mean to, but gosh, it'd be great if we could have somebody, do a subscription show that would help bring in funds for the organization. And I'll do anything I can on my end. You just let me know, and we'll be glad to pitch in. If there are folks out there right now, Chad, that want to contribute or become a part of the effort, what do they do?
It's as simple as going to arts, ARTS, Tulsa.org, and you can read all the ways you can assist and help in us raising money to give out to these 43 organizations. And I'm with you on Garth Brooks, Trisha Yearwood, Carrie Underwood. If they're listening, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. I will sweep up backstage if they will help us raise money for the arts in Tulsa.
If you can get Garth Brooks to do it, I'll go wash all of his cars.
I'll help you. I'll help you. That's how important it is to me too.
My friend, we're out of time. Thank you. And we will talk with you again because there's more that we need to know about the Art Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, that's all the time we have. Thank you for being a part of it. Remember, Sam's rules: wear your mask, avoid crowds, and wash your hands. We'll see you next time.